we're all us amputees. We're all different. And, we do things different. But I said, once I got good with my prosthetic, I'm going to start putting videos online, maybe help other amputees out. Throw some positivity out there. Just, hey, man, you got the will, you got the way.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the We're Not Stumped podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bolland, and today I welcome Billy Parker. Billy had a very successful career as a welder when an industrial accident changed his life. And we're going to get into that more. We're going to learn about that more in a little later on the podcast. But first of all, Billy, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be on the We're Not Stumped podcast.
Oh, you got it, Mike. Thank you for having me, man. It's greatly. I'm ready to go.
Let's do it then. I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks.
I'll tell you what, if you want to tell the audience a little bit about you, I think they'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I can do that. I grew up on I say I grew up on a hay and tobacco farm. I kind of lived on a little bit of a farm, but the hay and tobacco farm actually belonged to my uncles, and I was there more than anything doing, working in hay tobacco. And I grew up in a small town, Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And at the age of 14 years old, my Uncle Dinky showed me how to stick weld, man. And I absolutely fell in love with stick welding. And once I got old enough to get a job, I got a job welding, full-time job welding at the age of 19 years old as a welder fabricator. I did it for a little over 21 years, and so it's pretty awesome. Uncle Dinky, he was an old Marine. He showed me how to stick weld. I love him. I miss him a lot, man. He's really the one that got me to fall in love with welding. So it's pretty awesome. And I made a career out of that for 21 years. And after 21 years, I had a fairly new job. I was about 3 years into the job, and just went to clean a machine that we built. It's called a drywall shredder. We went to clean it out while it was still running, and didn't use a safety protocol, and just kind of pretty much took a shortcut around safety. And as a result, I ended up getting caught in the machine, and it was ended up taking both my arms above the elbow. And I tell you what, man, the scary part was getting out of that machine. I had to get myself out of that machine, but I got out. Thank goodness them teeth were as sharp as they were, is what I always say. But I got out of that machine, and like I said, I lost my arms in both my arms above the elbow in 2007, work-related accident. Yeah, just lockout tag-out situation. And lockout tag-out situation, how you lock out, tag out is you got a piece of machinery you're about to work on. You go to the power source, cut all the power off to that machine, put a lockout, tag out on that thing so nobody can turn it on while you're working on the machine. But you get rid of all that residual energy. Make sure nothing on that machine is going to move until you're ready for it to move. And I didn't use that safety procedure, and as a result, it came very close to costing me my life. And like I said, I've been an amputee for the last 17 years. It's coming up on 18 years. January 23rd will be 18 years as an amputee. And man, I just, what I always say, I'm a survivor, but not only do I survive, I thrive. I thrive every day. I live my life. I just live my life to the fullest. And I just try to enjoy life as much as I can.
I was going to say, I know you like to enjoy life to its fullest. You can hear it in your voice. I do have a question, though, because I didn't know this about you until we started to talk a little earlier. How did you extract yourself from that machine? If it's something you can describe, if you can't, that's fine.
But it's a pretty, like I said, it's a big. It's called a drywall spreader, and it had two big cylinders in there, and it's electric, of course, pretty good sized machine. And anyway, I just gave it everything I had and just kind of pretty much ripped myself out of there. I just ripped myself out, and that's what got me. There was quite a few guys back there. There was a few machinists and a few welders back there, and they were just staring at me like they were, I don't know, like they were in a trance. And it happened so fast. There's a couple of them that didn't even know what was going on, until after the fact. But I just couldn't get any help. And this machine was eating me up pretty quick, and it was kind of scary. The first thing I thought is I just thought this machine was going to pull something out of out of my body through my arms, and I was going to drop dead when I got out of there. Exactly what I thought. But man, I was able just to rip myself out of there. Like I said, thank goodness the teeth were as sharp as they were. But I was able to rip myself out, and that's pretty much it. And then I had to find help. I had to get this blood stopped, and I'm bleeding out pretty quick. And you know what? It really tripped me out. I was pretty darn calm. I still had my head about me, knew exactly what I had to do, and I'm hollering at this same group of guys. They got to help me, or I'm going to die. And I still get no help. And I actually found a guy. I finally got a gentleman's attention, and him and another coworker actually came over and they laid me down on the concrete floor, and one stepped on my right stump and one stepped on my left stump and slowed that blood down enough till the
Yeah.
MTs got there. So they pretty much, them two guys, once I got myself out of that machine, them two guys pretty much saved my life. So it's pretty awesome. And actually, one of the guys, he was an elderly guy. Was actually in the Army for a little while, and he ended up being a full blown medic in the Army. So
Wow.
very lucky, very lucky. I got that I got that help that I needed. I didn't think I was going to get that help, but I got it. Thank goodness I did.
So, in thinking the chronological order of this, so you're laying there at that point when you knew you're out of the machine. Do you black out? Do you remember more? Do you remember getting to the hospital? How did that
Oh yeah,
transpire?
yes. I'm actually laying there on the floor, and they're stepping on my stumps, and I'm having a casual conversation with them. I was a single parent at the time with a 15-year-old young man named Cody, and as I'm laying on the floor, I'm talking to them, and I'm like, man, how's my son going to take this, and how am I going to take care of him? I was scared to death. I was more scared to death at how is he going to be taken care of than myself. I knew I wasn't out of the woods, but no, I was conscious the whole time this was going on. Even when the MTs got there, they're screaming for my arms, and my coworkers are screaming back for my arms. They want to take them with me to the hospital to reattach, but of course it's a shredder. There's nothing to take, like a big meat grinder. So and on the way to I remember them putting me in the ambulance. We're having a conversation going down the road in the ambulance, and I had blood all over me as you can imagine, but I had a lot of it on the front of me, and they asked me what I did to my chest. I'll never forget this conversation in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. I said, man, what'd you do to your chest? And we was laughing, a bunch of humor in the back of this thing. They really couldn't believe what was going on. But that's just my way of dealing with things. But anyway, and I said, I didn't do anything to my chest. What are you talking about? I lost my arm. They said, man, you've done something. You got a pretty good puncture right where your heart is, and you're actually still bleeding out of it.
Ooh.
And come to find out, as I'm being pulled into this machine, there's pieces of all thread, a bolt all the way around the top of this machine, about 8 pieces, 8 bolts around the top of this machine. That's how you put the guard and the cleaner on. And one of them that I'm about to be pulled in, I'm being pulled in over top of one of these bolts, and it's about to puncture my chest cavity right where my heart is. So if I hadn't got out when I did, I mean, I probably wouldn't be standing here talking to you or sitting here talking to you on this podcast right now.
Yeah.
Very lucky, but uh, we get to the hospital. I'm conscious the whole time. I'm in an emergency room. They're clamping me all up, stopping all this blood and everything. And I'm like, man, what is going on? Why is it taking so? I'm just laying there by myself. This seemed like forever. And my right arm got the worst of it. It really tripped me out. It happened so fast, and I guess the shock of it, I was never in any pain whatsoever until I got at the hospital. My right arm started, it started hurting pretty bad. And I remember looking up, I don't know, there was probably 10 or 12 doctors just sitting there talking about what they were going to do with me. And a few minutes later, I went back to surgery. My first surgery was 9 hours. They were able to close my left arm up on the first surgery. And it took another surgery and skin grafts off my leg here to close my right arm up a few days later. But yeah, I never lost consciousness. I knew exactly what was going on the whole time. I never went under until they put me under for the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Well,
was
you
pretty
had,
calm, pretty cool and collected. I think the bad part was when I came out of uh my first surgery and I was in recovery. I woke up and I was mad. First thing I did was went to reach for the blankets because I was cold. It's cold in the hospital, right? And realized, don't get me wrong, I knew I lost my arm, but realized right at that moment at 39 years old that I could not do anything for myself. You know, I don't think I've ever felt sorry for what I did, what happened to me, but I've gotten mad over it a few times because I could not believe I made a decision like that. Taking a shortcut around safety and trying to do something like that, and it almost cost me my life. I couldn't believe I put my life on the line like that.
you
That
had
was probably the
mentioned,
hardest part for me.
well, you had mentioned your son too. I mean, as you
Yeah,
said, Colby, is that what you said his name was?
Cody, C
Cody.
with a C, Cody. Yes,
Cody. How
yes,
did he, 15 years old, he knows what's going on. I mean, how was he
yes.
through the whole thing?
He mentally he took it worse than anybody. Cody and I were pretty close. We were close as a father and son could be. We could have been a little closer, but we had our moments, just the way it was back then. But anyway, he took it pretty bad. That's something that we could Cody and I could never really sit down and talk about it, really talk about anything about my injury or even it was about 6 months before my injury, and my son gets in a car with his best friend, and My son had a seatbelt on, his buddy didn't, and his best friend was driving. They ended up racing the car and lost control. And my son's best friend died right there in his arms that night.
Wow.
And then 6 months later, he comes close to losing his dad. And his way of dealing with all that was pretty much acting out in all the wrong ways. And like I said, we could never really talk about anything. And not saying it was all his fault. I kind of get a little perturbed too. And next thing you know, we're arguing, and I was like, man, we just got to stop this arguing. And we separated, and uh, he started getting a little bit of trouble from the time he was 15 to the time he was 18, and then he stayed out of trouble for quite a while when he was 18, 19 years old. Got in more trouble when he got in his 20s, and then he went away for a while. And I pretty much don't really have much of a relationship with my son anymore. He's 33 years old. He lives about 5 minutes down the road. We see each other every now and again, but we're nowhere near as close as we used to be. And I also tell people, there was a lot of guilt that came along with this injury and that decision I made of picking that screwdriver up and sticking in that machine while it was running, and there's a lot of guilt that came along with this, with what I was putting everybody through. And the biggest one was probably with what I put my son through at the age of 15 years old with what he was already going through, but it's gotten better over the years, and so yeah, it's just something that's there, man. It's, we're just not as close as we used to be. I miss that. I really do.
Well,
And
thank you for.
hopefully one day, I'm not giving up on him. So,
Well,
that's just the
good.
way it is.
Well,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that. That's one of the things as you do research on people and you try to ask the right questions. I didn't know that part about you. Thank you for sharing that. And I do
Yeah.
hope
You got it.
both of you get back together, certainly. Well,
Yeah. I appreciate it, man.
the next phase of your journey, I would imagine, after you heal, I mean, that I'm not going to say that was 2 seconds. Obviously, that was probably
Yeah.
months, if not
Yeah.
years. But then
Yeah.
prosthetics. And what was that journey
Yeah.
like for you?
Man, it's pretty wild. It's pretty awesome. I'm gonna tell you straight up just exactly how it was.
Please.
I was I was actually in the hospital still. I hadn't gone to rehab. I was in the hospital, and I had three different prosthetic companies come in. And the first two that came in, they pretty much just walked in my door and threw paperwork on the floor and said, "We're gonna make your prosthetics." And I'm like, no, I don't believe you are. You know what I mean? I really didn't even know what to think
Wow.
about prosthetics till that first person walked in. And anyway, I went through two people that did that, two companies and did that, and then another company came in. Is it all right to mention companies on here?
Yeah, I'm not sponsored by anyone. You can say whatever you'd like.
Okay. Yeah. There's finally a company came in, Hanger Clinic,
Hmm.
and two gentlemen, one guy named Bill and another guy named Aaron came in the hospital, and they were actually sit down and talk to me. It really blew my mind. They sit down and actually talk to me like human beings, and I can tell that they was our conversation. We probably talked for about 30, 40 minutes. I can tell their conversation. All they really wanted to do was help. And I knew I was going with the right crew, because it does take a team. It did take a team to get me where I'm at and still to keep me moving like nowadays. But Hanger Clinic, I was about 2 weeks of being in the hospital after my surgery. I still had stitches in my left arm. Hanger Clinic came in the hospital. We talked, and they ended up casting me the next day. They came in and cast my left arm for a prosthetic. And I guess about a week later, they actually had just parts of it, and they come in was fitting my left arm with it. I still had stitches in my left arm and everything, but they were fitting it up. And then they didn't deliver that arm to me until I was at rehab. About a week and a day or two of being at rehab, they delivered that. I had one left prosthetic arm that they delivered. And as soon as they told me how this arm worked, I was like, oh man, I got this. You know what I mean? And all it is, I'll explain my. I'm going to explain my arms a little bit. The
Okay.
set of arms that I do have it's called a myoelectric. It's actually a hybrid set of arms. It's a mix between a body powered and a myoelectric. The body power for me, the body power for me, I'm just kind of moving that forearm up and down. I got these things are strapped together from one shoulder all the way across my back to the other shoulder, and that's a body powered forearm. Same thing over here on the left. It works the same way, body power forearm. The electric for me, when I slide into these sockets in the morning, there's sensors that land on my bicep muscle and sensors that land on my tricep muscle. And the biggest question I get when I show somebody how I use these things is how do I how do I make them operate? And all I had to do, he told me, he said, all you have to do is isolate your bicep and your tricep muscle, what I have left there, and flex them. And depending on which one you want to use to do what on your hook on your hook here, we
Yeah.
can set it up in the computer. And I was like, all right, we can do that. So I use my tricep. I can slowly flex my tricep to open. I can slowly flex my bicep to close. If I do that same flexion with my bicep and I hold it, I can spin it one way, then tricep spins it the other way. So when this is a hybrid set of arms. I've had the same kind of arms about 17 years, almost 18 years. I usually get new arms about every 4 or 5 years. But they first put that arm on me when I was at rehab, and they told me how to operate it. I was actually picking blocks and moving blocks with it.
Wow.
They were really tripping out on how fast I could operate it, and uh, so I just thought that was pretty cool. I didn't have it a lot when I was in rehab. It was being custom made to me, and but when I did have it in rehab, I'm gonna say I was in rehab for a total of 21 days, and I probably had that arm a total of I'm gonna say 4 days altogether in that 21 days. Right, did a lot of working out in rehab, but when I did have that, I taught myself. The OTs, they really did not know how to show me how to use this left prosthetic that I had. They had their hands. They had no clue what to do with me or anything like that. And so it just, but we just talk to each other. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Communication, I believe, is key to everything, right? And we just talked. I remember when the OT showed up at my door, it really tripped me out. She showed up at my door and she just standing right in the middle of my door and just staring at me like she was just scared to death of me. I had no prosthetics at the time. It's like the second day of being at rehab, I believe it was, third day. And uh, I said, man, I've got to figure out a way to break this ice. And I had my little residual limbs there, no prosthetics on. I just walked over to her and I was like, you know what? Her name was Shauna. I said, you know what I'm gonna be for Halloween this year? She says, no, what? She said, I said, I'm gonna be T-Rex, and I threw him arms up, and it kind of she tripped out and she started laughing, and I started so we started it pretty good we made a pretty good friendship there. But like I said, we just shoot around ideas. Next thing you know, I figured out how to put some socks on, how to pull up some basketball shorts. Now I had to slide into some shoes that were already tied or something, or some sandals for now. And because it's just in the beginning. Then I finally figured out how to put a shirt on with that left prosthetic arm. You'd think it'd be pretty easy to put a shirt on without any arms, but man, it could be a trick sometimes. I was ripping that shirt on my arm, and so I went through quite a few shirts where I figured it out, but I figured it out.
Well,
But that's all I could really do.
I've never
That's
done
all
it,
I could
so
really do. Yeah, that's all I could really do. Learned to do when I was there at rehab. And I left the rehab after 21 days. They let me leave after I picked an egg up with that prosthetic arm, that hook, and cracked it in the bowl without any shell. I said, well, give me that
wow.
egg because I'm ready to go. I was ready to go. And so I did that. It was like 2 or 3 days later, I was home. Uh, when I first came home, I actually forgot about this for a long time. But when I first came home for a week, the hospital rehab had sent somebody to my because I couldn't feed myself, I couldn't brush my teeth, couldn't take myself to the restroom, still couldn't dress very good, just basketball shorts, socks, and a shirt, and things, pull up pants of some type. That was about it. Still couldn't feed myself very good, take a shower, any of that. So they sent someone, excuse me, to my house for about a week, I think it was. My son actually, the day of the incident, my son actually moved out
Oh wow.
back in with his mom for a little while until I came home from rehab.
Yeah.
Then he moved back in with me about 3 days, I think it was, after I come home from rehab. And uh, but anyway, the gentleman they used to send a gentleman for about it went on for about a week to my house to brush my teeth every morning and feed me oatmeal, right? And then it was the end of that week. I was like, man, I don't. He showed up. I tried to call him before he got there because he got there at my house is sick. I said, man, I really don't. I don't need you here anymore. You know what I mean? I got my son here, and I just got to do this stuff. So he left, and I never had to get anybody to my house anymore. But what I was doing, and I didn't realize it at the time, was I was kind of putting it all on my son, helping me do everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a little bit. He never complained. Don't get me wrong. He never complained about it or anything. He helped me do absolutely everything. But like I said, he started getting in trouble. But pretty much for the first 10 years as an amputee, I just took it upon myself to get my life back and just live my life with these, try to live my life with these prosthetics. I was like I said, I come home from rehab. My son helped me for a little while. I sent the one dude home, didn't want him back anymore. What changed my whole mindset on this? Him, like I said, I never heard any frustration in his voice, but he had showered me. My son had, and he was drying my right leg off. And this was the first time I ever heard any frustration in his voice. He looked right at me. He said, "Dad, do you ever think you'll be able to do anything like this on your own again?" And as soon as he asked me that, my mind went back to what my granny used to tell us growing up, and my mom used to tell us growing up. My granny heard us kids say we can't do something. She was right there in our face, can't, never could. And my mom was always right behind us, saying, pushing it, just saying, where there's a will, there's a way. And they used to just drill that into us a lot, looking back on it. And I'm glad they did, because that's how I lived my life. I had Cody put that towel in my mouth. I took that towel back there and laid it on the bed, and I just flopped down on that sucker and watered around like a fish till I was dry. The more I did it, the better I got at it, you know. So I really never had to get anybody to help me out in that sense anymore. I just started applying myself, trying to figure things out. Now, mind you, it didn't come. It wasn't all just calm, cool, collect all the time. There was a lot of frustration that came along with it. It was probably a good thing I was by myself. There was a lot of cuss words I invented. People probably shouldn't hear. So, you know, but yeah, I just got in there and applied. You know, there'd be times I'd start something. I want to do something, and you know, prosthetics, they break. They don't always act the way, do what you want them to do, and it would get frustrating sometimes. I'd want to take them off and slide them out, and, you know, throw them out in the yard, you know. But I'm a dad and a hunter and a fisherman. I got pretty good patience, but I really had to learn to be patient with myself when it come to learning how to use these arms. You know, everything I knew how to do with my hands, I had to learn to do with hooks. You
Mm,
know, so
yeah.
I had to learn to walk away. You know, instead of just getting all mad and going crazy, I had to learn to walk away. I may come back to it that day, but it may have taken me a month before I came back to that. But I always came back to what I was trying to do because I want to reach that goal, right? And I can pretty much do just about anything I want. There's a few things I'm not able to do right now. That's not out of the picture. You never know, like using a hammer. You
Yeah.
know, you give me a hammer and a nail and a piece of wood, it's gonna take me about 2 weeks to get that nail to that piece of wood, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna say after the first couple licks with the hammer, the old prosthetic arm would probably be broke, you know. So things like that, you know, I'm pretty real with myself when it comes to things like that. In the beginning, I was just kind of gung ho, using them for all kinds of stuff. And then I had to be real with myself. Man, these things are expensive. I'm still living my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's certain things that I'm not able to do with these. I know some people are like, man, you know, you should be able to do anything you want. Well, you know, you have to be real with yourself, and I'm pretty real with myself. There's certain things that I am not able to do with these hooks. You know, I'm out there. I can't go out there and run a jack and you know on because these things would just fall apart. Things like that's what I'm getting at. You know,
Yeah.
that I'm not able to do right now. That is.
Well, I read a quote from you, and it was actually on Hanger's website, and it said Billy said he remembers how lost he felt in the initial days and weeks after the accident, and he hopes he can ease the minds of others who may be facing limb loss. So he shares his story and advice on social media too, and I certainly know you do that through your Billy P YouTube channel. But I think what you just explained talks a lot about your attitude and how you just keep moving forward.
Oh
Can you
yeah,
t can you talk about the YouTube channel a little bit?
yeah. Like I said in the beginning, I really had nothing to go by when I learned how to use my prosthetic arms. And I just promised myself once I got good with them, you know what? I said, you know, we're all us amputees, we're all different. And, you know, we do things different. But I said, once I got good with my prosthetics, I'm going to start putting videos online, maybe help other amputees out,
Yeah.
throw some positivity out there. Just, hey, man, you got the will, you got the way, you know, and so that's what I started doing. I started putting some videos together, and I got me a Facebook page and a YouTube page and started putting videos on there. And man, some of the feedback I get is pretty awesome how they're helping everybody out. I've had a few go viral, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's just what I like about the internet with these videos is that you can just reach a broader audience. You know what I mean? It's pretty awesome. So, and I see that. I remember when I first started putting the videos on, I still get a lot of messages and stuff like it. It's very hard to answer all them things. I can tell you that right now, you know. And but and I've had people. I got a message once that just stands out, and it was from I think it was some other continent. I can't even remember what it was, but
Wow.
they were like, man, and it was just me going through a drive-through. It was all it was, and they said, man, the guy that wrote me was talking about how their village hadn't gone to church in over 2 months. Every one of us in this village, after we watched your video this week, went to church. You know what I mean? And you just made us feel the positivity you were throwing out in this video. You know what I mean? I tell you what, I mean, it just fills my heart to be able to do that, and I'll never forget the first amputee I ever helped out. Uh, Hanger Clinic called me up one day and asked me if I would go help an amputee. His name is Bill. I said, sure, I'll go talk to him. And what had happened, he went to the hospital for a heart attack and he woke up with no arms and no legs. They had to take them while he was under. And but we talked for a little while, but it really tripped me out. I thought it was, he'd been like 4.5 years out already. And in that I asked him before I got ready to leave. I said, "Man, I hear you having some problems. What's going on here?" And it really tripped me out what he said. In that 4.5 years of him being an amputee, he never figured out how to hold his knife to cut a steak up at a steakhouse. So we had to get somebody to cut a steak up. All he wanted to do was cut a steak up. He didn't know how to do it. I knew how to do it. You know what I mean? So I showed him. I didn't have a knife there, but I found a pencil. I just showed him with a pencil. And man, him tearing up made me tear up. He was happy. I was happy. And the next thing you know, and uh, he was he said, Billy, I'm in a group here in Louisville, Kentucky called Moving Forward,
Yeah.
Live and Law Support Group. Would you come and talk to the group? And I ended up going and geared more toward amputees and saw all that kind of stuff. I went up, ended up going talking to the group, ended up joining the group, and been with the group for since 2017 or
And
16, then 2016.
and that's how we met.
Yeah, yeah,
And
through
I
Moving
thank you so
Forward.
much. And I
Yeah,
want to
you
make sure
got
that everyone knows how to get a hold of you or look up your stuff. If you look up Billy P. Amputee, you're going to find all the information. Just Google it. I mean, you can certainly find
yeah,
it on YouTube and if you Google it, Facebook, all those links are out there. And
Billy Parker. Yeah,
you have such great content. But when you talk about helping people, I want to get to something else that you do that I really admire. You founded a company called Lending a Hand, where you go out to organizations and talk about the importance of safety. And there's nothing more impactful than someone like you going out and speaking. Can you talk about that a little bit?
yeah. As you can imagine, I was a welder fabricator for 21 years, so I used my hands pretty much all my life. That's how I made a living. So I lose them, and so I'm getting my life back. Don't get me wrong, but once I start getting my life back and learning all these new things with hooks instead of hands, I'm thinking, what am I going to do for a living? One of my main goals, I'm going to say probably my main goal when it came to this was as soon as I lost my arms, I'm on disability, right? I've always taken care of myself. Even if I've had 2 or 3 jobs, I've always taken care of myself. My main goal was to get off of disability, but I never thought about how I was going to do it until I was sitting on the couch one day, wondering what I was going to do to maybe make a living. I didn't have that passion to be a welder fabricator anymore. And it really blew my mind. My brother called me up out of the blue one day, and my brother David, good guy, but he said, Billy, he works for Public Works, and he said, would you come over and talk to my guys? I'm like, what do you want me to talk to you guys about? He said, well, your incident, what happened, and he said my guys are being unsafe. I think you can really help a lot of people out. You can help my guys out, keep them a little safer over here. And of course, I was scared to death. I
Yeah.
hadn't talked in front of anybody since the third grade.
Yeah.
And I was a nervous wreck when I got up in third grade and I had to recite an Abraham Lincoln speech 4 score and 7 years ago. I still remember that speech. But I said in third grade that I would never talk in front of anybody else, right? But anyway, I went to the public works where my brother works. I was there. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't there 10 minutes. Went there and did a little spiel, was a nervous wreck, and really didn't know what to say. I hadn't really worked on anything or nothing like that. And as I'm walking out the door, it was all over with. As I'm walking out the door, everybody saying bye and all. And this gentleman by the name of Doug come up to me, an older gentleman. He had been in the welding industry or the safety industry for like 30 years. He was actually retiring that year. And he said, Billy, I can tell you was a nervous wreck. He really didn't know what to say. He says, I know what's happened to you and everything. I already know the story. He said, but if you go home and perfect your story a little bit and you get it out there, I think you can really help a lot of people out when it comes to safety on the job. And I kind of threw it around in my head for a week or so, and I ended up getting a little PowerPoint together. Was lucky enough to get some pictures from OSHA and some videos from OSHA, and I got online and I got online and I think it was on Facebook or something like that, and just asked my friends if anybody was having any kind of safety meetings, if I could come out and talk to them, and that's kind of how I got my start. A buddy of mine, Craig, got a hold of me and said he was having 9 safety meetings the month of February in 2017, I think it was. And so I went and did all 9 of his safety meetings pro bono just to get used to talking to people. You know what I mean? Standing in front of people and talking to them. And next thing you know, I'm doing all kinds of their sites, and then just word of mouth gets out. I come home, do a little marketing, and I've been doing this since actually started the business in. I did for a little while before I started business. I started business in 2017 because I want to be under, lending a hand. I think that's a good, I haven't got any, but I'm lending a hand.
Perfect.
I think it's
Perfect.
pretty good. Yeah, and
Perfect.
yeah, and that's pretty much what I just want to help people out. And I tell you what, these safety and these industrial incidents, any incident, man, these things happen so quick and so fast. You have to be on your toes. You got to think about things before you do it. You got to take that time, all the time that you need before you do the job, and know that you're going to do that job in a safe way. That's bottom line. A lot of these safety procedures, every one of these safety procedures, matter of fact, that are out there that have been made is because somebody got hurt or a fatality from that. You know what I mean? So they had to make a safety procedure. And these things, and you got to be just as safe at home. I always tell people be just as safe at home too. Don't use a 6-foot ladder to get on an 8-foot roof.
Yeah.
We've all done stuff like that before.
Yeah.
So just don't take them chances. And that's why I tell everybody, safety first always with everything you do. But anyway, I've been traveling the US and Canada, been doing motivational safety speaking since 2017. And I stay pretty busy. Last year was my busiest year. This year's been pretty busy. And there was a few months I had to take off for some personal stuff. And so it wasn't quite as busy this year, but it's been pretty busy. I've already booking up for next year. And I don't have a website or anything like that. I do have like a business page on Facebook on Meta Business. Uh, I'm often told to start a website and things like that, and I'm like, man, that's just another thing on my plate I got to do or deal with. But I just love getting out there. I love telling my story. Uh, I don't I don't like the flying part of it. I don't like flying, but
Yeah.
that's just part of it. I make it pretty easy on myself, when I fly. It can be a little hard with prosthetics, but I tell you what, there's a lot of good people out there and a lot of people out there that's willing to help, man. I tell you, somebody asks me if I need any help. Sometimes I'll turn them down. Sometimes I'll say, yeah, man, it's not bad. I'll take a little bit of help. You know what I mean? So it's okay, right? It's okay. But yeah, I love what I do, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I went from being a welder fabricator working with my hands to run my mouth all the time. So, you know,
Well, you do great. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you, look at Billy Parker on Facebook or Billy P on Facebook. You have that business page, and man, hire
yeah,
him. Hire him. Get him
yeah,
out to your
yeah.
place to talk about workplace safety. Do it.
I'll
So
throw you my email out there too. The number one,
please,
lending a hand at Gmail. Yeah,
lending
you
a
can get a
hand
hold of
at
me that way.
gmail.com.
The number one, lending a hand at Gmail. One lending a hand at Gmail.
One
Yeah,
lending a hand at gmail.com. And I'll make sure I link to that too. But some people only listen to the podcast. They don't look at the description. And I get it. We're all busy. So one
yeah, exactly.
lending a hand.com. Perfect.
At,
So
at Gmail.
at
Yeah,
Gmail. What did I
yeah,
say?
yeah.
Oh, I said,
Dot com.
I know
Lending
what
a
I
hand
said.
dot
Yeah.
com. It's all
Okay.
good.
It's all good. As long as we got it through.
Yeah, we got
I know it's later than where you're at, but I still say it's good.
it.
You know what I thought was interesting as I was doing research. This is one of the coolest things. You were featured on Good Morning America. What was that like? That had to have been fun.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. Meeting everybody and my wife and I. She actually got to go with me, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, just getting on there. I think I even showed how I opened a Coke one time or something like that. And so yeah, it's just I just like getting the word out, man. Just to keep people safe and just you know uh let us know us amputees out there, man. We're out there and we're here to stay. For
Absolutely.
sure. And
Absolutely.
nobody's gonna slow us down. And that's I always say stay you, stay positive and be safe. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
A-
Just keep moving forward in everything you do.
And that's the motto you have to be a happy and successful person, probably in all walks of life, but certainly in the walks of life
Yeah.
we're in. Is that what you feel?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And just staying positive. I'm not gonna say, I'll have to get it, man. You just can't be positive all the time. It's
Yeah.
I'm just you wouldn't believe it, but I'm a pretty positive guy all the time. You know what I mean? And sure, there's times I'm getting down. I'm like, man, how am I going to figure out boots? When I get down, it's like, how am I going to figure out how to do this? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Or I go through something 4 or 5 times. I may drop something 4 or 5 times. Like, man, and that kind of stuff happens. But I'm a pretty positive guy. I know if there's a way, we're gonna find the way to. There's will. We're gonna find a way to do it. And I firmly, I'll bring it up a lot. I firmly live by them words right there. I really do. Thank goodness my mom just drilled it into us growing up. You
Well,
know.
you're always been positive every time I've heard you talk and interacted with you. And one thing I want to add, you went to that Moving Forward limb loss networking group, and I
Yeah,
believe
it's
you
a
met
movie.
someone
They
there.
changed the name. Yeah, it's limb loss networking and social group
And
now.
social group. Thank you.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
believe you met someone there.
yeah. Like I said, I went there. Uh, I'm gonna be truthful with you. For 10 years after I lost my arms, I didn't go on any dates or anything. I just concentrated on myself, get myself where I needed to be, and I ended up going talking to the group at Moving Forward, and there's this lady that was there. Her name is Kelly, and we kind of hit it off. She chased me around a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. you know. But anyway, we hit it off, and pretty much we've been together 8 years now. I met her and her two little kids. Well, I say little, they're not so little now. They're 14 and 16 now. But
Yeah.
we've been together for 8 years. We'll be married 3 years, May 14th of next year. And I just met the love of my life there. So it's pretty wild. I had never, as far as I knew, I had never seen or even talked to an amputee before I lost my arms. Right?
Yeah.
I hadn't even seen, uh, even when I was at rehab, I don't think I seen anybody else there that was a amputee, an arm amputee, you know?
Yeah.
And, so it was, pretty wild that and that was for the first 10 years until I went to Moving Forward. And then I met all kinds of amputees, and it just tripped me out how Kelly and I just end up getting together, and she's an amputee herself. And I don't know, man, there's a lot of fun around the house. She's the very first lady I've ever met to be in one room and trip somebody in another room. You know what I mean? I trip right over prosthetic legs all the time, and she'll be in her office and her leg will be in the bedroom. And, so it's pretty cool. There is, there, I guess, when we first, I'm going to tell you about our first date. We went on our first date. We took the kids to the movie house to see Boss Baby. And I'm a hand holder and a hugger, and I always have been. And I never thought about this for the first 10 years, but as soon as we sit down at the movie house in our chairs, I just automatically reached over to grab her hand and realized at that moment that I could not feel anything. Right? I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't. I mean, oh my God, I can't feel. I never thought about that until that moment right there when I went to try touch her hand. And of course, being the lady she is, I teared up a little. It's kind of got me a little emotional. Kind of teared up a little bit, and being the lady she is, she let me dead now. I said, Billy, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. We figure it out. So it's pretty cool. I love it. I love the family. I really do. I love where I'm at in my life, and I love the people that I have around me. So it's pretty awesome.
It is very
You know.
awesome. And she was gracious enough to come on the podcast and that I'm editing right now. She was on yesterday, and now
Oh
you're
yeah,
on today. And I'll tell you I guess the dynamic duo you two are.
yeah,
It's
right. That's
absolutely.
we got to do something. We've talked about that, doing something together, and I think it would inspire and go along. And that was something that we would have done. We just didn't make it earlier in the year, and that's why I had to put on hold 3 or 4 months of work because of that's something that fell through. We didn't make it, but that's okay. Maybe next time. And that have been something that we would have done together and really inspire a lot of people. And I still think we can do something. So we're going to figure it out one day, and we're going to get it out there. So I just can't wait to see what we come up with. But
Oh,
I tell you what, we go together, and there's some Boy Scouts here where I'm at, and we've been going there. We went there 2 years so far. This will be our third year if we go again this year, and we just go there and do a little spiel for the Boy Scouts and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. They really trip out on all these prosthetics and things like that. So it's pretty awesome. Just throw some positivity at them. Just let them know. You're going to go through things in life, but you keep pushing for it and you talk to people, you're going to get through it. So it's all good.
as you look forward, to the future and what you want to continue to do, or maybe something new as you just talked about, what are you looking to do 5, 10 years out?
Man, 5 or 10 years out. Well, I like to have my house paid off for
Yeah.
one thing.
Well,
You
do
know
mine
what I mean?
first. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. But I tell you what, man, I like to keep doing what I'm doing. I try to stay healthy. I work out. I try to eat right. I want to keep helping other amputees, just helping people in general out, other amputees, and doing all my safety motivational. I always want to do it. But I think one of my goals is I like to do some traveling with my wife. Again, maybe a little Winnebago for just us two, and once the kids are up and gone, and do a little bit of traveling and things like that, and maybe help other amputees out in other parts of in a few different states and things like. I don't know, man. It's just, I just think there's a way that as long as I can stay healthy and just keep moving forward, I'm going to help as much as I can. That's really all I want. That's my dream. I just want to be able to keep helping and getting people to live a. Hopefully, they're living a better and safer life, and it just fills my heart to be able to do that. And the feedback I get back from a lot of the things that I do just lets me know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And that's pretty much my goal. I just want to be able to keep doing what I'm doing. And sometimes I worry, I'm like, man, I just want to be able to take care of myself when I get older.
Sure.
I have no arms, right,
Right.
except for these prosthetics. So I want to be able to use these like I need to be using, like I'm using them now as I get older. I'm not getting any younger. I'm 57 this year.
Yeah.
So I turned 57 back in October. But
You
hey,
look
like I
great.
say, I just try to do what I can to just keep moving forward every day, and that's pretty much it. I want to be able to just keep doing that, and with my family and my friends, and just to keep helping people out.
Well, you do so much, and I want to remind the audience if they want to get you to speak for the safety training, go to Facebook, look Billy Parker, Billy P. But all
Yeah,
other things, especially your YouTube channel, Billy P. Man, you got some great stuff out there. You show people how you do things. I mean,
yeah.
it's a great thing, and you're already doing it. And Billy, I can't thank you enough for taking your time tonight. Where you're at is tonight
Oh, you
to
got it.
be on the We're Not
Yeah,
Stumped podcast. It really means a lot to me.
you got it. It's just 7 o'clock here. It ain't bad. Well,
That's
it's
not bad.
6:49. It's not bad. Yeah, not bad. It's early still. Where you at?
I'm
Where
in
you at now?
Arizona, so it's what time is it? It's going on
Three
5 o'clock.
hours.
Yeah, it's only a couple hours. I didn't know
Okay,
that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Good seeing you again.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the We're Not Stumped podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on the We're Not Stumped podcast, please go to we'renotstumped.com and fill out the form. But if nothing else, please like, share, and subscribe. But if you're going to do one of those three, please share it. There's so many people out there that need to hear these stories, the great stories of the incredible people that are on this podcast. So do me a favor, please like, share, or subscribe. Thank you.